Hello everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Bill Mousoulis, for those of you who don't know me, and together with Chris Luscri, who's up the front here videotaping, we've put together this series of screenings, so this is the second of 3 screenings, called Australian New Wave Filmmakers Showcase. And basically, the 3 screenings of films that are low budget and a little bit unusual. One's flying under the radar of the main film festivals around and also distributors and all that kind of thing. Mainly films by younger filmmakers, but some slightly older ones as well. And tonight's film, Reflections in the Dust by Luke Sullivan, is a very important film, I think. And unlike the other 2 films which have had their Melbourne premieres, Luke's film has actually had a bit of a profile and has had a few screenings. But it was also rejected by the Melbourne Film Festival and the Sydney Film Festival. And, and this is, like, there's no reason for them to do that, but that's what they did. Because it played in a few European film festivals and it also got a short release earlier this year in March, but it played at the Classic at 12 noon each day and no one pretty much went. So I thought it'd be really great to screen this film. It's a very unusual film. I guess most of you know that, and it's got a real kind of impact. Luke is still, just a young man. He's, 24, I think, or have you turned 25? Yeah, 24 still. And he's a graduate of AFTRS, Australian Film TV Radio School in Sydney, and he's already made 1 feature, so this is his 2nd feature. And for me, he represents, well, it's like the obvious thing, a new generation. I mean, 10 years ago in Australian cinema, things for me were just so boring, it was unbelievable, and I actually left. I went to Greece for about 8 or 9 years. But I think, in that intervening time, there's been a few interesting filmmakers come up, like Warwick Thornton and Emil Colton Wilson, making kind of pretty interesting films. And at the moment, there's actually quite a few, low-budget indie filmmakers who are in their mid-20s who are making features, and they're really amazing films. There's people like Georgia Temple and Bryce Ryman in Queensland, and Alison Chorn in Adelaide, and Melbourne's got quite a few as well. And quite a few bubbling underneath who haven't made a feature yet, but watch out in the next 5 years. And Luke, he's just a really interesting case because he's also very confident and very bold with his ambition, and he's kind of actually I'll let him speak for himself. At the end of the film, there will, just sit in your seats, there'll be a Q&A, helmed by Cerise Howard, who's a curator at the Melbourne Cinematheque and a critic for Senses of Cinema, and she does other things as well. So it's a pretty short film, it's about 74 minutes, but it packs a real kind of punch. So I'd like to introduce you to Luke Sullivan.
Hello everyone. First I'd like to thank Bill and Chris for hosting the film and throwing this amazing New Wave event. I think it's amazing that you're supporting young filmmakers and emerging filmmakers. I don't think there's enough of that in the industry at the moment, and I really respect that, and I'm just very thankful that you're having me and that you're hosting me here. I'm really appreciative. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. So Reflections in the Dust. Look, this is a very polarizing film. Very much either love or hate. I've had a lot of crazy screenings with it. Some of the screenings have been amazing. It's one of the best films I've seen in ages, and other people have honestly just been disgusted and confused and, even walked out. Over in Europe and Cardiff, we had walkouts. So I'm not sure what today's going to be, but, let's hope it's a good one, yeah? All right, thank you guys, enjoy. Why don't you believe in love?
I don't believe in love because I've never seen it. People have said that they've loved me, and then treated me quite badly. So, what is love? I mean, it hasn't come my way, so why believe in it? I'm not sure if it's possible for me in this lifetime.
Oh, that was quite an experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I get that a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if there were walkouts.
No.
Are you
I like
disappointed?
a few walkouts here
Yeah, I
and there.
thought you
No, I
might.
do. Yeah, I like a healthy mix. So it's all good though. Who cares? Yeah.
I think this was the sort of crowd that knew that this wasn't going to be Muriel's wedding.
That's it. I think they were prepared for it. Yeah, I think they were more prepared than some crowds I've faced, which is good.
Yeah.
You know, some screenings I've been into, I've been quite nervous, you know, because you've seen a bunch of people going in and they really don't expect, you know, when you're at a film festival or something like that, they don't know what the hell they're going into. Then they watch that and, you know, you definitely get interesting reactions. So it was nice to come to a crowd that kind of knew that what they were getting into to an extent.
To an extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they may have seen some images, they may have read some media coverage conceivably, but I think that's quite removed from the actual experience of being in a cinema, especially one with actually as wonderful a sound system as this has. It's just a theaterette, but this is a pretty potent system in here.
It's an onslaught by design.
It absolutely is. Yeah. And then I thought, this is the quietest credit sequence I have ever sat through until the sound returned to that as well. Just the starkness of when you take that sound away.
What's the worst nightmare you've ever had?
It's a recurring nightmare I get quite often. I'm not sure whether it's a spirit, a ghost, a devil, something. Something's at the end of my bed, and it's telling me to come with it.
I mean, you have a very striking location. You have some very singular presences on screen. You have a script that is very disjointed, fragmented, not quite sure what's going on, how much is real, how much is figments of, well, whose imagination?
Yeah.
How much of this was on-the-fly filmmaking?
Funnily enough, it was quite precisely scripted when we kicked it off. But once we got out there to this location and we were in the elements, we were with our skeleton crew, we didn't have any resources whatsoever, really. It was just us, the camera, the boom, and the actors. You know, it became, like quite improvised to an extent and very natural and very raw and very kind of authentic. Like everyone had in their mind what the script was and the story that we were trying to tell, but at the same time, there definitely were cases where we went in a complete different direction with certain scenes, and Rob and Sarah, the actors, were making it up as they went in some bits, and I loved it. You know, I think it gave it such an authenticity and such a human sort of feeling, you know, seeing two people actually interacting in a way where they're not just reading what I wrote, you know, and I think that lends itself well to this kind of story and this kind of dynamic. You know, you want it to be human and you want it to be authentic, so I definitely let them go free in certain scenes,
When rehearsals commenced,
Yep.
There were rehearsals.
One rehearsal
right.
before we got out there, so not much rehearsing whatsoever, because we didn't have the time or the money to really rehearse. So we had one rehearsal in a yoga studio in Newtown prior to shooting. That was about 2 hours, and it was nothing like what happened out there. Like, you know, a yoga studio compared to just being out in the elements in the rain and in the heat, it really it was completely different. So it was barely even a rehearsal.
Yeah, I somehow had that sense that an awful lot must have happened on location.
I mean, that bit that you see at the end where the whole set's flooded and his tent's floating, like that actually, the set actually flooded. Like the night before there was a really big rainstorm, like torrential rain, and we rocked up to the set the next day, and where we were shooting for the last few weeks was just completely flooded. Props were floating out because we were shooting in a dam, right? So it flooded, and then I had to swim out and I had to retrieve like the unit tent and all the props and shit, and it was horrific. But you know, like we were dynamic and we just basically wrote it into the script that there was this big apocalyptic storm, as you saw.
You can work with that.
Yeah, that's it. So very much like this film was a matter of working with what we had and just making the best of it. You know, I think it gives it a really good feeling in the end, a very, like I said, authentic and
it feels
feeling.
Very lived in.
That's
Were you
it,
actually staying on site there?
No.
Now this film, this film came into my awareness in I was in Cardiff the year that it
When it
was,
world
it was
premiere.
last year.
Yeah, last
world
year, yeah.
premiere. And I was intrigued. I didn't actually catch it there and then, but I clocked it as the only Australian film in the program. There's not usually that many there. It usually requires something a little special to find that its way, a film's way to the attention of the programmers in
Yes. Yeah.
what is the premier showcase for Eastern European cinema, but also has a broad sweep of international cinema and retrospective programming, thematic programming, what have you. I was really curious. How on earth did your film come to their attention?
Through our sales agent, Level K. So they're
And
based
how
up
did
in-
you come to Level K's attention? They're a Danish outfit.
Yeah, they're
aren't they?
Danish. Yeah. So they're quite big. They're quite a big sales agent over in Europe, and it was just random. Like we finished the film, and our initial plan was to get Screen Australia completion funding. So I looked at the criteria. I'm like, oh, what do I need to get this? You know, because I'm not gonna have enough money to complete this film. So it goes theatrical distributor in Australia and international sales agent. So I'm like, well, I need to get an international sales agent essentially. So I basically emailed every sales agent in the whole world with my pitch, my images. I edited together about 8 minutes of the film, and like I just wrote this epic long thing about how it was the best film ever, how it was gonna break boundaries and what have you. And look, I got rejected by 20 to 30 to 40, like heaps. But funnily enough, Level K came to the party, and they were like, look, we see something in this. They saw something in the 8 minutes. They read the script, and they're like, look, this. What did they say to me? They said, this will either be hated or it's going to win all the awards. That's literally what they said to me, and they said, we're willing to take a chance on it, so we'll take it on.
That's right, 'cause it can be both.
That's it. It can be both, right? Yeah. So look, they took it on after that, and look, they really helped with the festival strategy. So they were instrumental in getting us in Carlyby Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't really get a look in otherwise, I don't think, if you don't have someone supporting you. Yeah.
Oh, otherwise, yeah, you have to have extraordinary good fortune.
Extraordinary. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's I think the perfect festival for a film such as
Oh,
this.
I loved it. Yeah, it's an incredible festival. Yeah.
Well, I'm very steeped in Eastern European cinema, and for me, there is a real Eastern European sensibility to this, both in the surrealistic images and its fragmented, disjointed, experimental.
Yes.
Mixture of, is it documentary, or is even the documentary bit fictionalized, or is this blurring of all genre boundaries and this sort of miserabilist sensibility.
Absolutely, yeah.
Profoundly
Utterly
Eastern
hopeless.
European.
Yeah.
Despair and bleakness and humour, but the humour is so dark. So dark. Luke, you seem quite chipper, so tell me about...
That's it, that's what everyone says.
Yeah.
You know, everyone, like, when they meet me, they're like, oh, this is going to be some dark, depressing guy, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm a pretty happy, positive person.
Yeah.
Which is funny,
Yeah.
But I make very dark films.
Yeah. And we'll continue to.
That's it. I will continue to.
Yeah.
I can tell you that too. I could never make a comedy.
You
know,
don't
like,
think?
I've tried to write comedy, and it just has not worked.
That was it.
That was it. That's
Yeah.
probably the closest I will ever come to a comedy. So
Yeah.
it's only up from here.
Are you actually steeped in cinema from that part of the world at all, or European?
Yeah, I mean, people
cinema of the
ask-
60s.
Like, they ask about my influences and stuff, and to be completely honest, not particularly. No, like a lot of this just kind of comes off the dome. Like I just write and I just go and do it. Like I don't really feel like consciously I have too many influences. I mean, subconsciously I might be drawing from certain things, but consciously I like to just go out there and just do it. You know, when I'm writing, it's just stream of consciousness sort of stuff, and I just like to let it all out there and
keep it real.
keep it real. That's it,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the casting.
Yes.
Where did you find these wonderful people?
So Robin Royce Quire, who plays the clown, was in my previous film, my first feature film, a no-budget feature called You're Not Thinking Straight. He had a very small role in that, but look, I loved him. I loved his energy on screen, and I figured, you know, why not give him a shot for this role? And I feel like he absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
Gave himself to the role entirely. I think it's an amazing performance. He's such a generous, incredible performer, and very proud of him, really, you know. And then, Sarah. So with the role of Freckles, we weren't necessarily looking for someone who was disabled or suffering from something that Sarah does, but at the same time, we wanted someone like who wasn't just like another plastic movie star, I guess, is the best way I could put it. You know, someone real, someone who was captivating and authentic. And look, I searched like a fair bit for someone to fit the role, and I was quite lost. You know, I just didn't really know. I couldn't really find someone who encapsulated what we wanted. But then I found Sarah on an SBS interview actually. Yeah, so SBS is the feed, the Mark Fennell show. She was talking about her travelling circus performance that she does. She does like physical theatre performances around the world. I think South America, she's done it, UK, America. And she's talking about it, you know, and something about her in that interview just struck me immediately. She had such a presence on screen and like I said, just such an authenticity. She was so good to watch and I figured, you know, this is Freckles. And I just emailed her and I said, do you want to do it? And then she came to that same yoga studio where we actually had those rehearsals. I met her there and she came in very, like she had read the script by this point and she came in very unimpressed, like very, just not kind of happy, and I really didn't think she was going to do it. Like she grilled me for like an hour about why I wanted to tell this story and this or that and my decisions. She went very deep into the script. And look, we talked for about an hour and then she kind of just left without saying whether she would do it or not. Like I totally assumed she would not do it. Like I thought she hated the idea and hated the script and hated everything about it. But look, a couple of days later, she called me and went, you know, I will do it. And then just the other day, she's like, oh, it's one of the best decisions I've ever done because it's brought us so much, you know, attention and acclaim. Yeah.
And you've often got the camera in this film trained very tightly on their faces, on anyone's faces.
That's it. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's about the people, you know, it's not so much about the setting for me. It's about these tormented characters and their relationships. And I just didn't want to divert from that, you know, and I want the audience to kind of feel like they're suffocating.
Yeah.
To, you know, to feel like Freckles does in this relationship. You know, it's a suffocating relationship and I feel like it should therefore be a suffocating film.
And the high contrast black and white cinematography, that was a decision early on?
No, it was after we shot it. Because I thought it gave it a bit more of like an otherworldly sort of feel in contrast with the documentary aspects.
And again, quite Eastern European.
That's it, exactly. Yeah.
Are you in a bad mood?
No, what makes you think that?
A hunch.
Well, you couldn't be further from the truth.
I don't believe you.
Why not?
I'm telepathic.
We might throw it to the audience. I have a notion it's about time to solicit some questions. I see some hands up already. There's one quite, down the back a little ways.
The film is about, you say you have your intention. How do you describe the film?
How do I describe the film?
Yeah.
I mean, to me it's about being trapped. For me, it's about being in a situation where you want to get out of and you know it's the right thing to get out of, but at the same time, you just can't. Like, you know, some things you can't escape. And yeah, for me, it's about entrapment and not being able to escape even though you know it's the right thing to do.
What made you want to tell that particular story?
I mean, certain experiences in life, I don't really go into it much, but a lot of it does come from, reality, things I've experienced, yeah. So, just, I guess, memories and experiences throughout my life.
It portrays kind of like a patriarchal kind of male-dominating figure. Yes,
very much, yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what we wanted to explore with the clown's character very much. Toxic masculinity and just male control, I guess, in a sense.
Is it referencing the kind of clown world, that idea that we're living in a world that's essentially run by clowns?
No, but that's I like that. That's definitely an interesting way of looking at it, yeah.
New meme, look it up.
That's Thank you.
And look, that you didn't explain how they came to be where they are, how the world came to be, and whatever dire straits it is in. That was
absolutely intentional. Yeah, absolutely intentional. Yeah, I didn't want to delve too much into it, but I wanted it to still be very much a broken world.
Had you developed a backstory for that in your mind?
Yeah, I kind of have an idea in my mind of what happened. I've never told anyone. I don't think I will, but I've got like a vague idea of what happened. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, after you watch it so many times, you edit, you write it, like, you know, you naturally come up with ideas as to what's happened. But look, I think part of the magic of it is, you know, you don't necessarily know why these people are here, what's happened. Yeah. It's mysterious, you know, you're like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah, which is good, which is the feeling that I kind of want to give people when they watch it.
The visuals are great, and that grading on the black and white's just stunning.
Yes.
But I think the one thing that I noticed was the relentless soundtrack.
Yeah.
And did you think about that in the beginning, or did you
like with the visuals, with the suffocating, very tight visuals, I also wanted the soundtrack to be extremely relentless and just make people feel really uncomfortable and tense. You know, I really wanted the audience to feel like Sarah does, Freckles does in this film. I really wanted it to essentially capture what it feels like to be a victim of abuse and to be a victim of a relationship like this. And I feel like this soundtrack, you know, so relentless and so intense was the only way to really do it proper justice. And like, it may not be the most pleasant watch, but I feel like it definitely gives you the feeling of what it feels like to be suffering from abuse and be in a situation like that. So that's why I chose it. That was my decision, along with the camera work as well.
It's just a wonderful, as relentless is the word I can think of. It's a wonderful thing that you stop paying attention to it, and there are things on screen where you go, did it actually go quieter then, or was I imagining it?
Yeah.
You know, it drifts into that synchronization of sound and soundtrack and kind of the image.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, definitely an onslaught by design, you know, that's what I wanted to do from the word go, so very much intentional, yeah.
And composed entirely after the shoot?
Entirely after the shoot, by my brother, by my 18-year-old brother.
No way.
Yeah,
I saw there were a few other Sullivans.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a family affair, but my 18-year-old brother, he composed the score, as with my first feature, and that's exactly what I told him. I said, you know, I don't want to let anyone off the hook for this whole film. He's like, are you sure? And I said, I'm very sure. And I think it, you know, adds to the magic for sure.
Yeah, I'm inclined to, he's 18.
18, yeah, very talented. Yeah.
Precocious bunch, aren't you? Which is fine. Next question, anyone? Yes.
On the subject of the sound of the pictures, I was struck that it was quite relentlessly beautiful. Like, it's very uncomfortable at the same time. It's you know, it's just fantastic seeing every different nuance of the actor's face and all sorts of light. It was like an environment to itself, so it wasn't, you know, you didn't want to look away, wasn't it?
That's it. Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, that's all thanks to Rob and Sarah. Like, those performances are astounding. Like, I was out there directing it. Like, it was just as intense watching it in person from behind the camera. Like, I couldn't believe what they were doing out there. Like, Sarah had never acted before prior to this film, which just blows my mind. And, you know, even Rob, like, he hadn't done too many big roles. He'd been an extra in, like, Australia and Great Gatsby, I think, but he'd never really done anything like this. So I was, you know, shocked and amazed, really. It was incredible, yeah. So I thank them for a lot of that.
Quite, you know, long spaces waiting for words to come. I presume that was more directed, unless they weren't very experienced actors.
No, it was directed. I mean, you know, we definitely did a lot of takes. You know, some takes weren't as good as others, obviously, and, you know, I did kind of want to leave people in suspense and have, like, longer beats between lines and stuff like that. But as the shoot went on, they kind of got a sense of how to capture that themselves as well, which was really cool to see, yeah.
Just with Sarah, like, you know, people might not, you know, realise from the film, but she's blind or partially blind, and as a real person, obviously, not so much in the character, but she, in the film, like, to be able to do that kind of acting in that kind of environment with the other actors being partially blind was remarkable.
Yeah,
I mean, her expressions on her face, the subtlety, the way she kind of expresses all kinds of, you know, mixed emotions. How did she do it? I mean, she's not actually
I barely know.
a cinema actor,
Sarah,
you know.
really can't see. Like, we had to lead her out to the set. We had to hold her hand and, like, help her step over ledges and rocks. Like, you know, she's not even really partially blind. She's basically blind. Like, you know, apart from a little bit of shapes, to my understanding, she said she could see. So I don't really know how she could read the dynamic that well, like you said, but she did, and it was incredible, you know, because it is very nuanced, and, you know, even down to the little flinches and stuff and how she reacts to him coming at her and stuff. Like, I don't know, it's just like a super awareness, I guess. That's the best way I could put it, and it was, you know, it's powerful.
How do you brace someone who has very limited vision for a scene in which they're going to be drowned?
Well, the funny thing about Sarah is that she was in the Paralympics for swimming. So she's a very tough woman, like, extremely tough. And look, she read the script, and, you know, she knew what we were going to be doing out there, and she, like, we were really trying to look after her, and I guess it was kind of our instinct to make sure she was okay at all times, but she didn't really like that. Like, she's like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it on my own terms. let me get drowned, let me get force-fed berries, I'm going to be fine, I've been in the Paralympics, like I've done much worse, don't worry, I'm just going to go out here and do this. So with Sarah, it was a matter of, making sure she was still okay and didn't fall or whatever, but at the same time, she would appreciate it if you just treated her like everyone else, which we did, because she's very capable. Yeah, and it was amazing.
Too old for that shit.
I guess.
You know I'd do anything for you, don't you?
Yeah.
Then why don't you show it?
Do.
Liar.
Another question?
I mean, did Sarah, like she read Braille or something, or how did she read the script?
I think she got a recording.
Oh.
Yeah, so she listened to it, I'm pretty sure. I think she got it converted into it,
They
yeah.
both just got beautiful ways of showing themselves.
Amazing, yeah.
And such, he just had such long speeches to say, and he just did it himself.
Yeah, it's so natural, right? Like it literally feels like it's his own words, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm.
Really brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant way of doing it.
Thank you.
How about, Luke, the construction of the testimonial scenes?
Yeah, so with them, they were completely improvised. I just wrote the questions, and like we were just saying, like I very much kind of wanted people to question whether it was actually documentary what they were seeing, or fiction, or a bit of both. That's kind of how I directed it, so it was actually very difficult to put together. But essentially, that's kind of what I instructed Rob and Sarah, like bring a bit of both to it, bring a bit of the clown and who you are, and like it took many takes. I think every single one of them took at least probably 10 takes to kind of get something good, and then after that, obviously in the edit, we edited bits of each interview to make it a whole. But that's basically what I instructed Rob and Sarah to do, improvise and bring your own experiences to the table, but also don't forget Freckles and the clown, and hopefully we can get a magical mix where people are kind of going, what the fuck are we watching, what is happening, which I think they achieved really well. So again, that's a testament to their performances.
Was it pre or post the main shoot?
Pre. Yeah, that was the first day of shooting, those sequences. And then aspects of the main shoot we also shaped around kind of the themes they were exploring in those interviews.
Mm.
There was another question. Yes, just.
Yeah, I'm actually Eastern European, but this reminded me more of Todd Browning's Freak, so far Organised, the House is Black, some of the really fantastic and poetic pieces, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And another thing was, when you go to the international festival circuit, how does the audience react to an Australian filmmaker who at the age of 24 decides to deliberately remove himself from the mainstream?
Yeah, I mean...
You see approximately, 5 wide shots here?
That's it, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think you counted it. I think you're right, yeah.
I wouldn't tell my students to imitate you, but definitely to watch a film. But what are the reactions to a young Australian filmmaker who is so deliberately removed from mainstream?
Well, some love it. Carla Vivari and Talon, which are two of the main festivals that we screened at in Europe, some absolutely adored it. They've gone, we haven't really ever seen an Australian film like this, and they were incredibly impressed. And also my age, like, they were just kind of going, how did you do this? This is beautiful, we're very impressed. And it kind of wanted them to kind of explore more Australian cinema, thinking that there were kind of more films like this in Australia. And I said, don't get your hopes up, but, go and have a look, like there's a few. But that's kind of the reaction I got. Yeah, like people were kind of like, we haven't seen this side of Australian cinema because, over in Eastern Europe, they're not as familiar. And it just kind of made them curious above all else, going like, oh, we didn't really know Australian cinema was like this, can we look deeper into it? Conversely though, some absolutely hated it over there. Some people walked out, some people were disgusted, horrified, deeply confused. But look, I was happy with that. I think the main thing for me is that the audience feels something when they watch one of my films, is that they have an emotional reaction, and that that they're not bored. You know, I don't want people to be sitting there bored. I want them to be interested and just feeling something, you know, feeling emotions, whether that's good or bad. You know, so I love the festivals. They're incredible.
And I can't move. That's the scary thing, is that I can't move. Okay, I want to yell out. I want to scream, and nothing will come out. And there's it's like a black hole at the end of the bed. It's coming closer and closer, and then all of a sudden, a sound comes out, and it's not. I'm trying to say help, 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 but that doesn't come out. It's just like.
Just on your fellow students at AFTRS, did you really stand out from everyone else, or were there other students wanting to make, you know, this kind of cinema?
You're the weird kid.
Yeah, I wasn't really the weird kid. I think, like, I was definitely among the people wanting to make something different, you know, like a lot of people didn't want to make stuff like this. The majority of people didn't want to make stuff like this, obviously, you know, because it's not really what they instill, you know, like if you want to get good grades, like if you want to get distinctions and stuff, you don't want to make stuff like this, you know, like, so the people obviously looking to actually do well at university, you know, they did kind of avoid this sort of thing and they went for more of a safe kind of route, you know, but at the same time there were certain people who, were very much similar to me and very much made boundary-pushing avant-garde experimental content. Funnily enough, the producer of this, Giovanni Di Santolo, went to uni with me. He was at Afters with me. And he was probably more on the side of wanting to get good grades and kind of get distinctions and stuff like that, make conventional sort of things. But I feel like I kind of corrupted him in a sense, and I've led him down this dark path, which is quite funny, you know, because his dad is involved quite heavily with Screen Australia. And yeah, he probably doesn't like him hanging out with me much, you know, it's one of those things, but it's all good. Yeah.
And you'll work together again?
Of course, yeah, he's worked on every single one of my films, yeah, ever since that Bad Luck Paddy that I mentioned, so, you know, he loves it, yeah.
Maybe one or two last questions?
What was the budget of the film?
The budget.
Was there a budget?
There was in the end. I mean, we don't really say, honestly. Yeah, they tell us not to say, so.
It won't leave this room.
No. I never have to this point, so I'm going to keep it down low.
It's complicated because, like, if
and it's kind of like, I don't even really know, like, to be honest, at this point. That's the funniest thing. But it was low. Like, it's micro budget. Like, it's extremely low. Yeah. Exact number, I'm not too sure. Yeah.
Look, of course, Bill Mousoulis here, you sent me the 10th draft screenplay.
Yes.
And when I read that 10th draft screenplay, I got the impression that the actors would be in this wasteland, a total wasteland, a desolate, horrible wasteland. And when I saw the film, what I saw was pristine, clear water, beautiful reeds and vegetation and so forth. Yeah. So it seemed strangely that what was in the screenplay was in many ways stronger than what was in the film. And I was wondering if this is because actually too difficult to find that kind of horrible wasteland that you actually wrote about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, look, I did quickly realise that my script was probably higher concept than I could actually achieve. So what I tried to do is basically achieve that wasteland that you mentioned through these ugly characters. You know, I let them create that feeling. You know, but yeah, definitely I agree in the script there was much more kind of detail as to the apocalyptic wasteland and all that. But yeah, it wasn't really something you can achieve without resources, you know, so I figured the clown can kind of evoke that feeling instead, which I feel he does, you know. Real monster.
What were they eating in that scene in there? It looked disgusting.
Berries, yeah.
No, not just the berries, there was a bowl of porridge.
Oh, like gruel, like a mix of like wild berries and stuff from the forest and plants and whatever they could find, really.
For me, that really communicated that they were living pretty rough.
Oh, they were living rough out there, yeah. No, they were very much living rough,
I had a bowl and a spoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't nice. It wasn't tasty, I can tell you that.
They were finding some good drugs as well.
Oh, they were, yeah. Found more drugs than food.
One last question. Don't be shy.
The Paris burn part.
Yes.
Was that before Notre Dame?
It was, yeah, well before Notre Dame.
Isn't that prophetic?
it kind of fits, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it's very spooky. Yeah, thank you.
The newspaper that you'd mocked up was it The Speculator? Is that what it was
Yeah,
called?
the art director made that up. Yeah, the Speculator. Yeah, Paris Burns. Yeah. So her dreams were burning. She was never going to escape.
Yeah, uncanny.
Yeah.
Will you work with them again?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Are
Yeah, I
they
really want to.
Already in your
Yeah,
mind
like
for-
this script that I'm writing that I just said, I already have roles for them in mind. Yeah, so I can't wait to work with them again. Yeah, it was an honour.
And meantime, I hope they're both using this as a calling card. And
They are, yeah. I mean, we're pushing pretty hard to get them ACTA nominations, maybe. So we'll see. Yeah, the distributors behind it, Backlot's campaigning pretty hard, especially for Sarah. So you know, it's competitive out there, but you never know. I feel like their performances are among the best in the year. You know, regardless of the budget of this film.
Absolutely.
I feel like from a sheer, you know, just performance perspective, I think it's powerful. I think it's among the year's best performances, both of them, for sure.
How can these people help?
Vote. If you're ACTA members, yeah, put them number one, for sure. I would definitely encourage that.
No one leaves this room until they.
That's it. The ballots at the door. Yeah.
It's not a joke. I think maybe if there's not another question, we can wrap it up. Bill, you don't want to get the last word in one way or another? No?
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming,
Thank
everyone.
You for Luke. Luke came from Sydney for this.
Yeah, just got here.
Luke Sullivan.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. Really good.
Thanks, Cerise.
Thank you, Cerise. Thank you. It was a pleasure.